Once again, welcome to Matters on VOP 90.3 FM. It's day number 2, month June. So, happy new month of June. Okay, let's quickly take a look at what we're going to be talking about today. Senator Natasha, the senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, is to appear in court tomorrow, Tuesday, as summoned. So we could taking a look at that, the politics surrounding his appearance. The federal government, remember, sued him for defamation. So we're going to be taking a look at what's happening there, as of course the council, her council rather, West Dahosa confirmed it. So we'll be taking a look at that. Also, a human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has accused African leaders who make up the authorities of heads of state and government of the Economic Community of West African State, ECOWAS, of failing to promote the rule of law. Femi accused them of treating the decisions of the Community Court of Justice, ECOWAS Court, with disdain. We're going to be taking a look at that, using that as a springboard for the powers, the actual powers of judiciary in these countries. Of course, we're going to be taking a look at that also in the Nigerian context. If there is time, we will be taking a look at security in Nigeria, where Nigeria's Chief of Naval Staff, Vice Admiral Emmanuel Ogala, says increased manpower will boost the efforts to curb oil thefts in the country's maritime space. We keep talking about Boko Haram and the internal security in Nigeria. We also forget that there's also insecurity in our waterways. And then finally, if we have the time, the All Progressive Congress APC has dismissed the allegations by former Minister of Youth and Sports Development Solomon Dalong, alleging that a powerful cabal has taken over President Bola Tinubu's government. What does that even mean? We'll be taking a look at that. And of course, I have a Mr. Dele Fanny Moore will be helping me to analyze all these different topics. So here's how we're going to be doing it. Between now and 1 o'clock or thereabouts, we will be taking a look at this topic, and of course Mr. Dele Fanny Moore will be here. We'll analyze it together. Then after analyzing, we'll now open the phone lines. I won't call the numbers yet, so we won't have interaction. I'll call the phone lines, and of course we'll give the mic over to you for you to have your say, give us your opinion on this topic that we'll be treating today. So let's go straight to the first topic of discussion, where the suspended senator representing Kogi Central Senatorial District, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, appearing in court on Tuesday as summoned. This was confirmed by lead counsel West Dahosa. Dahosa, however, expressed uncertainty about whether the federal government planned to arraign her on Tuesday. He said that whatever the plans of the federal government, Akpoti-Uduaghan, as a law-abiding citizen, will comply with the court directive. The federal government, through the Director of Public Prosecution, Mohammed Abubakar, filed criminal charges against Akpoti-Uduaghan, alleging that she made defamatory statements during a live television broadcast and a private television conversation. So let's start with that, Mr. Dele Farmer. Of course, I forgot to announce that he's a political and current affairs analyst. So let us start our topic for discussion with that, where I guess the question in a lot of people's mind is, why is the federal government entering into this discussion? I mean, this is a situation between two lawmakers, two elephants, as it were. Why is the federal government adding his might in addition to the might of the Senate President into this conversation?
You see, the first thing you need to understand is that, one, defamation takes different toga with different jurisdictions.
Okay.
Now, for instance, in Lagos State, defamation is civil. So it's just you filing writs and going to court, challenging the defendant, saying you have defamed me and I need so. Sometimes apology, sometimes publications, sometimes money.
Okay.
As damages. But in some other jurisdictions, it's criminal in nature. That's why Farotimi was taken to Ekiti. Because in Ekiti State, there is law of defamation that criminalizes anybody that is found to have defamed. So can you see the two? Okay. And when you are charging somebody for criminal offense against you, you are not going to be the prosecutor. It's a crime against the state and not the individual. The individual will just come in as a prosecution witness. Okay. That's why the person that is alleging that had been wronged, that had been attacked or defamed, now becomes a witness against you on the side of the state to provide evidence good enough to prove that case beyond reasonable doubt. Okay. So in this case is a federal case. It happened in Abuja on the floor of the Senate, and which is a federal government organ.
Is it criminal in Abuja?
Yes, that's why the Attorney General is suing. Okay. If Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan has not been a senator, I am sure that he would have been in custody if there is no administrative bail in the police station and arraigned in court. And they will take a plea at the federal court, and if the lawyer asks for bail, that can be contested or allowed to go, and she will be given bail while the subsisting case continues. I don't follow public sentiment when issues like this come up, and that's why I'm different.
So lots of people, and a cynic like me, will see that as an intimidation tactic, because I mean, the Senate president already is, if you to follow the constitution, is the third in command after the president and the vice president, which means he already has enough power. The federal government coming into the situation, criminal or not, defamation or not, is seems more like, why do you have to accuse the Senate president, who is a friend to the president, of sexual harassment?
You see, the point is, at this moment, issue of sexual harassment or not is not in contest in this case.
It is actually.
I said
that is where the defamation is coming from, isn't it?
What I'm saying is that the senator occupying that seat occupies it on behalf of the government, or the federal government, and the National Assembly, as exemplified by the Senate at the House of Reps, is a federal government organ. And this offense was allegedly committed on the floor of the House. So are you now going to preclude government?
They cited majorly the TV interviews that she did, not the allegations she made on the floor of the House. Several reportages have cited the fact that this case is based on the TV interview she did and the conversation she had with Dr. Sandra Duru, a phone conversation. That is their two major premise for the
now
defamation
the case,
case.
why we are even talking about it is the case has not been mentioned in court.
Yes.
If it has been mentioned in court and the court has taken a plea, anything we discuss here is sub judice.
Definitely.
So by tomorrow, if she's eventually arraigned, you won't call me to the studio to come and discuss this. I will not say a word. Now, you see, what I'm telling you is that the onus is on the person alleging to prove his or her case beyond reasonable doubt. Now, evidence will be shown that she allegedly defamed the Senate president. We have seen cases like this in the past. Ganifa was arraigned for defaming Rotimi Williams, FRA Williams, the almighty FRA Williams.
Now you've added the word almighty, which is also
now,
you know,
some
of the foundation of what we're talking about here.
You know what happened in that case? When they got to court, everywhere was silent, and the man came. It was like Goliath versus David. If Ganifa had no evidence against the almighty FRA Williams, in stature, in intelligence, in law, they were poles apart.
Definitely.
Miles apart.
Definitely.
But, you know, when they got to court, Fayomi went back in the day to when FRA Williams was in secondary school, where he's told. And I'm sure FRA Williams never knew that Ganifa Fayomi could unearth that episode.
I mean, he too is no joke when it comes to the law.
No, as at that time, it was just coming up.
But it was still brilliant nonetheless.
Oh, sure. An average lawyer should be brilliant anyway. Do you know what happened? By the time he came up with that, and he said, if this man was at this level, how can now say he has integrity and reputation to protect? And that was how FRA Williams lost that case. So, what is in contest here is this is the evidence. And television does not have jurisdiction. It's mass media on air. So, nobody's going to say, please, where is the studio of this television when this interview was aired? It could be in the studio, and it could be virtual. So that does not remove.
Use that to context to where the federal government over the years have tried to. We know allegations of sexual harassment is a very serious case, but we also
very difficult to prove.
Very difficult to prove. Yes, very difficult to prove. Exactly, which is at this point where I'm talking about where. If one would be wondering if a woman of that stature have come out to make allegations of sexual harassment, and then it seems people don't believe her, how do you think I don't want to use the word lesser women that
but it is you and your conscience that knows that you have raised your leg. I have seen judgments when I was younger on the beat as a reporter, that the judge will say, between you and I, this man, you know you committed this offense. But the evidence before me is not enough to get conviction. But one thing I know is, what I have before me is that I should discharge and I quit you, but I leave you and God. I've seen judgment like that. In Akure, Ondo State.
I wish we can talk more. This topic is quite deep. But finally, she's from a member of the People's Democratic Party, PDP. One should have. She is rather. One would have expected that the PDP rallied with her as per party affiliation, but they're just leaving her to her device, which further cements the fact that PDP have been a very, very terrible opposition party.
PDP is in ICU.
Okay.
And so somebody who's battling for his life, can he save any other person? Definitely no.
True.
So
True. You've just hit the nail on the head. Let's just leave it at that and go through the second topic for discussion, where a human rights lawyer and senior advocate of Nigeria, Femi Falana, has accused African leaders who make up the authority of heads of state and government of ECOWAS of failing to promote the rule of law. Falana also accused them of treating the decision of the Community Court of Justice, ECOWAS Court, as disdain. Now, I don't want to go through reading all the plenty, but let's use this now as a point of contact to a larger democratic process in individual country. Where I know we're both not legal practitioners here, but we can talk as as little
lettered people, not learned people.
Exactly.
Only lawyers are learned.
Exactly. As little as we can. No, we are also learned as journalists.
No, we are not learned.
We're privy to a lot of information. We cover a lot of these things, and that is why they call us journalists as the fourth tier of government. Exactly, because when in a situation where the opposition is not strong enough to hold the government to account, and a situation where the executive and the judiciary cannot hold the executive to account, we as journalists, it is our duty now to put them at their toes and make them. We can't do what the judiciary and legislatures can do, but we can try our best. So that's why we're here to talk about this now. These have actually been called one of the loopholes of democracy, which is why sometimes it becomes like a gentleman agreement between the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. On paper, they are supposed to be on the same level. They're supposed to on the same level and act as a check and balance different rules to each other.
Yes.
But on practical level, the executives tend to have higher power, and that's why in a country where the democracy, the practice there, kind of quasi-democracy, the president tends to execute the power to the highest level and even go beyond bounds without there being a proper check and balance. And that is why this Femi Falana's statement is kind of apt. But let me come to you first. Do you agree with him? We know that in terms of ECOWAS, of course, there's really nothing they can do. But let's go to these individual countries. And what do you think about his statement?
I think we may have to use Nigeria as scope of reference.
Good.
Now, you see, they don't have the executive of checks and balances. The judiciary stands alone as interpreter of the law.
Definitely.
And the ground norm is the constitution that overrides other laws. Where there is conflict between two laws, you quickly run to the constitution, which is the ground norm. That's why
to do a proper interpretation.
So it is the job of the judiciary to interpret.
Okay.
And interpret they do. Now the legislature should be the one to put the laws together. Whereas the implementer is the executive. But unfortunately, because of the weaponization of poverty and the throwing up of people that their certificates, their intellect, their comes to the position of godfather too, and begin to raise another. So it's
and
like
it goes
a
like
process.
that, like that.
Yes, it's like a process. It's unending. So when you have this kind of situation, how would you be able to separate? Is it in the Senate? Some of these senators, some of them were past governors, and they have their case files in EFCC.
Yeah.
They need to watch their back every minute. And so all the executive needs to do is, young man, yes, you are a senator. Everybody sees you outside as a senator, a big man. You know, we bought this car for you. We gave you oversight function. We gave you security, constituency allowance, running into billions of naira. Now, this is what we want. Would you rather accept or with us taking money? That's not corruption. In fact,
it's just part
of it. You understand? If you abuse your office to the extent that you are giving positions, appointments to people who don't even merit it, you are corrupt. Abuse of office is corruption. Misapplication of fund is corruption.
Yeah.
Misappropriation of money is corruption. A lot of issues around corruption. Now, a legislator that would rather abandon what he has come to do and be chasing contracts all over the place. There are some legislators, go and check the answer of the State and National Assembly. Some of them will spend 4 years, they will never bring up a bill.
Yeah.
And whatever is the perk of office, they get.
They get it. Wardrobe allowance.
Everything.
Yeah.
Would you have imagined during the last election that is around the corner, we will still vote them?
They've already started campaigning.
10,000 naira in 4 years is 2,500 naira in 1 year.
According to Falana, Nigeria has the highest with over 44 judgments that have not been obeyed, followed by Togo and Guinea, which have 27 and 15 respectively. Others are Mali and so on and so forth. So, no surprise there. Nigeria is leading the pack in terms of failing to promote the rule of law.
Now, the point is, the ECOWAS court has authority to pass judgments. But where is the enforcer? Do they have police?
So now let's talk about that. Is there a way for democracy, to make it in such a way that enforcement will come together with after a judge passes a judgment, after the court passes it? Not just within ECOWAS, but
in country.
Individual countries, because it's a general problem. There is no enforcement.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Even in advanced countries like US, which is what Donald Trump has been using big time right now in the US, where the court have made several judgments with the White House not respecting and not adhering to each of those judgments, because there is no enforcement. How do you enforce a president that have immunity, or a governor that have immunity in a state?
You see, you have just answered this question. As long as Donald Trump knew he was going to win the last election, even when the pundits said, no, it's Kamala Harris.
And different opinion polls were saying Kamala Harris.
But then he knew it was intentional. While Kamala Harris was just junketing around, he had a slogan that resonated in America, which is, I want to take America back for Americans. And the conservative Republicans, that is a very good sound, a good song.
And generally a nationalist stance.
Exactly. So it was,
which is away from the global appeal that US
I told
have
my
generally.
friends and cousins in the US, I said, forget it. This election is won by Trump. They said, no way. Somebody who is going to be sentenced before the judgment and all that and all that. You see, when people talk from outside about politics, when I know that you are already one disciple to the other side, I just listen to you and take a walk. Because judgments, politics is not about morality.
So is it possible? Is it possible to reduce that loophole or to take away that loophole where even with the immunity with the president.
There are judgments that cannot be enforced. Let me give you an example. If there is a court order that police violated somebody's right, and that person approaches the court, and the court gives a judgment awarding 150 million naira on the police, who is going to enforce the law?
Who will pay the money?
No, just who is going to enforce the law?
I mean, it's supposed to be the police. Yes.
So police will carry uniform, carry gun, and go to the Air Force headquarters to go and confront the IGP. IGP, come out of your office. There's a judgment here and we want to execute. As a matter of fact, we are taking your official car.
It doesn't have to be the police.
By law.
Can they create
who else by law? Who else by law?
I mean, they can create another law enforcement agency. Because there are other law enforcement agencies beside the police.
You see, what I'm saying is, it is an aberration. Some of those things that the military is engaged in Nigeria.
We know.
Because internal security,
we still have an NSCDC.
Internal security, NSCDC does not. As a matter of fact, I don't know why they allow civil defense to even arrest and keep people in custody. They don't have such power. It is the police that has such powers, because they are in charge of internal security. The civil defense is to protect critical government assets. That's the mistake people are making. And because we sit on our right, we won't talk, that's why they can go ahead and do anything they like. If a civil defense man arrests me and put me in his detention room, honestly, I'll go to court and I'll win.
Because they don't have the
power. They don't have the
under
power.
The Constitution.
Yes. The law that created them and enabled them does not give that power.
I mean, in Nigeria generally, we have a problem with law enforcement overlapping. I mean, we see immigration officers carrying gun around. You see,
the point is, anybody in uniform in Nigeria is an Obesian state. Anybody in uniform in Nigeria, an average Nigeria sees that person as a threat, and so they also need to protect themselves. Because for me, I'm a Nigerian, I'm a civilian, but I've spent so much time in this country getting close to the security agencies, and I know that blood like yours and I's blood run in their veins. They have family just like you and I have. They shop the way you also shop, and they also move around the way you move around. But the criminals know the uniform person, but the uniform person may not know the criminal until he commits that crime. So they
as I was reading this story this morning, I was like, the entire Navy system in Nigeria, 30,000. 30,000, yes. That is really small. Now, we've been talking about internal security in Nigeria, Boko Haram, herdsmen and bandits. We also forget that
pirates.
Exactly, there are securities in maritime, and which is something to look at too. We can't forget in internal security and forget that there are also security in the borders. You know, especially in this time where we have terrorism, with inter-country, terrorism, Al-Shabaab, and all that. So, 30,000. That is really, really small. What do you think about that?
You see, it is not the size of the Navy that matters.
But it's
technology, or you want to give them rat poison, you just go and fold your arms after giving them. Once they pick it, you come and take the carcass away and throw.
For instance, even the ships are not even owned by Nigerians.
You see, that's what is called local content in the maritime sector, where indigenous players are encouraged to play. But the only thing is, in Nigeria, they give MON. but they never had EY. They don't support the local content. The federal government wants to do it. There's a way you do it. The people get support. I am also conversant with the maritime sector. IMO, international.
We were hearing before Tinubu's administration is that Tinubu is the leader of the cabal from the grievances and from the rumor. So how much of a credibility do you place in this news of a cabal?
You see, even in your house, if you have a wife and 3 children, there will be a cabal.
Well, it's not exactly the same thing here. It's not exactly the same thing
Among
here.
your friends,
Yeah.
there will always be a cabal. The cabals are the one that holds meeting before meetings.
Okay.
The cabals are when everybody are dispersed,
The cabal will still stay behind
they will stay behind
and
say,
hold a meeting part 2 or part 3.
So, no matter what, even in your household, you know who to trust to assign to do certain jobs. And so there will not be there's no way there will not be cabal. Even Obasanjo, he just was able to tame
Because we
the
didn't,
excesses
we
of
didn't
those
hear
ones.
we didn't hear much about it during the
you know, but
Obasanjo's
he has a way of managing his people to the extent that they didn't rise beyond where he had placed them. You recall that Obasanjo once said that, look, when he was swearing in some special advisors, he said, I'm swearing you as special advisor today, but it is not compulsory that I must listen to your advice. That is to tell you that he was in charge. You understand? And those people that you call cabal because you are outside may end up, if you profile them further, they are just there hanging on to whatever relevance that the principal accords them. You know, a messenger can be greater than you to understand some of these things.
I've read a little of it, but that is really brutal and more of an authoritarian look at things.
If you had read Al Pacino, The Godfather,
oh yeah,
then you understand the dynamics.
I've watched the movie.
You understand the dynamics of power, power play. You see.
But a lot of those principles don't really work in a democratic setting. It can.
Anyway, since you said you have not,
I know.
Since you said you have not finished reading that book,
I know.
Then you need to complete reading it.
I know. Now the point I'm making, Obasanjo, the civilian ruler, was supposed to be the difference of Obasanjo, the military ruler, is supposed to be different from Obasanjo, the civilian ruler. At least he was sold to Nigeria, just like Buhari was sold to Nigeria as a changed man. He's not going to be. Of course, we knew it was
because
just. We all knew it was just politics.
You know, leopards sometimes change their spot.
Okay, the phone lines are on. If you're just tuning in, this is Voice of the People 90.5. 90.3, I beg your pardon. Oh, God, I'm sorry. I'm still new to the line. I'll get it. 90.3. BOP. So, the town hall is open. The meeting commences. 0700-903-903-903. I'll call the number again. 0700-903-903-903. Or 08036929933. I'll tell it again, 08036929933. Those are the numbers for you to make your call. Or if you're having problem calling us, you can text us via WhatsApp to 08171756338. I'll tell it again, 08171756338. 0338. Okay, I've got the first caller in the house. Hello. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Okay, hello. Hello, can you hear me? Okay, if nothing changes before December, just add a reform promises to the 2027 campaign. Olusoga Ajayi from Donla Ikorodu. Thank you so much, Olusoga Ajayi, for talking to us. Okay, we have another call. Good afternoon. Welcome to the show. Tell us your name and where you're calling from. Hello.
Yes.
Oh God, we're having problem. Hello, can you hear me?
I'm hearing you very well.
Okay. Your name and where you're calling from now, please.
My name is Pete. I'm calling you from the right. May I know your name, please?
Oh.
Your voice.
Oh, this is Solomon of Okay, please.
Solomon of Fem.
Yes.
Yes. That name is Cross River name of Fem.
Yes, it is. I'm from Cross River State.
I'm across too. It's well. You are welcome.
Thank you. So,
Continue what you are discussing this afternoon. We are tired of this propaganda. We want to see it. The masses want to see the impact of this government. Small guy in the land, they say, when are we waiting? You wait, you wait 4 years to finish, you go for another election, 2027, 2 years for campaign. They are tired. They don't do something that helps you to the party. They both the money nothing. They are not.
Bad. What did you say? Say that again.
Ndi Adiano.
Oh, yeah, Kolo. Okay, that is my brother. Ndowoba. You go kaida.
You are welcome to our VOP family.
Okay, thank you very much, my brother from another mother. Okay.
Thank you.
Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, the number to call is 0700-903-903-903 or 0836929933. I'll tell it again, 08036929933.